Russ's speech topic is the great game of life. He describes himself as an eternal optimist and a person who is having a marvelous love affair with life. He never has bad days and doesn't fully understand why others do have them. As a lifelong student of science and of the science of business, he's always interested in better understanding new aspects of business, and especially as it relates to life and the lives of others. His speech topic, the great game of life. Please welcome Russ Farmer.
Thank you. Thank you, Dana. It's somewhat inconceivable to me to understand why people do not enjoy life. Life is so fantastic. And what I want to talk about this morning is the game of life. When I was in high school, I was heavily involved in sports. Football, basketball. I even ran track. Well, I didn't run track because I was a pole vaulter, so I didn't run much. Just enough from one end to the other. Getting up enough momentum to go over the bar. I thought sports was all about having fun. Little did I realize that the most important aspect of sports was the sportsmanship. We'll be politically incorrect this morning. Sportsmanship associated with the game, and the gamesmanship associated with understanding how to play the game and what it all meant. It wasn't until I got into college that I stepped back and looked at high school sports. What was this all about? I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of people. I got a lot of exercise. But it was really much, much more than that. So I took a look at the definition of gamesmanship because I like that word very much. One of the definitions, the use of methods that are dubious or seemingly improper, but not strictly illegal. How about that for a negative definition, huh? So I said, I don't like that very good. So I took a look at another one. The technique or practice of manipulating people or events so as to gain an advantage or outwit one's opponents or competitors. Again, a very negative, manipulating people. That sounds so negative. Gamesmanship is not about manipulation in a negative sense. So I wrote my own definition. The use of methods and techniques to accomplish continuously desired results. That's what it's all about, gamesmanship. There's certain rules associated with playing the game. Many of those rules are written. Many of those rules are unwritten. The most powerful rules, unfortunately, are those that are unwritten because they're dynamic in nature. They change depending upon the game. But in the game of life, which I believe is truly a game, if you play it properly, it's exciting, it's challenging. It can be incredibly rewarding. And amongst the big overview of the game of life, there's sub-games. There's the game of marriage. And within the game of marriage, there's little sub-games associated with that. There's the game of marriage finances. There's the game of marriage, who's going to clean the house. There's all these little games that are played. But the gamesmanship associated with all of these games is to achieve a desired result. One of the most powerful rules of the game was written by Stephen Covey back in 1989 when he wrote his first book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. They're really truly the games of life. First one being be proactive. The second one being begin with the end in mind. The third one, first things first. And the fourth one, which I really very much like and practice religiously, is think win-win. How can we both win? How is it possible to both win? Next one is synergize. Not 1 + 1 = 1.5. Not a compromise. 1 + 1 = 3. Synergy. Creating more than what was originally started there as a result of thinking outside the box. And the next one is first seek to understand, then be understood. To me, that says shut up and listen. You cannot possibly be a successful salesperson, i.e. Brad Beck, If you do not understand your customer first, shut up and listen. Win-win. Nothing is more powerful in the game of business, which is a sub-game of life. Okay, it's one of those sub-games that we play all the time. Nothing is more powerful in the game of business than to create a win-win relationship with a customer or a business person. You create a win-win, you have got a valuable client, customer, colleague, contact for life. You play a win-lose game, you've got one game and that's it. They're not going to come back and ever play with you again. To be successful in business, you create this environment where it's a win-win. They're looking forward to you bringing value to them, and they're willing to pay for it. Many times they'll pay a premium for it. That's part of that game. That's part of the rules. That's part of understanding how to play this game. It's a gentleman called Hilary Hinton Ziegler. Just for the record, he had that name before the other Hillary had it, okay? He was better known as Zig Ziglar. He's a very fantastic motivational speaker, top salesman. One of the things he said was, you can get everything in life that you want as long as you help enough other people get what they want. Create a win-win. These are all rules associated with the game of life. So why doesn't this game always work? Why do we have this situation? One of the most significant reasons that we run into conflict and the rules don't always work and the games don't always work is because there are underlying ideologies. When you have consistent ideologies, i.e. in a capitalist environment where people are looking to create wealth through working with other people successfully, when you have consistent ideologies, you can play to a win-win. When the rules of the game are win-lose, i.e. sports, as long as those rules are clearly understood and agreed to, you can still enjoy them, you can still have fun, and you can attempt to maximize your opportunity to be successful. But in the real world, you want to play for and want to achieve win-win situations all the time. The problem with that is there's inexorably conflicting ideologies, socialism and capitalism. As long as you cannot get beyond that, you will not create a win-win environment. You cannot create a win-win environment because there's always conflict. You step back and you look at business people. The reason they create win-win situations is they have consistent ideologies. If any of you ever have dealt with some foreign countries, one, for example, that I have difficulty with is Pakistan. The Pakistani mentality is win-lose. The only way I can achieve what I want is if I screw you. And that's the mentality. That's the ideology. And you cannot create a win-win out of that. You try to, but it doesn't work. You step back and you look at what's happened politically today. We have inexorably conflicting ideologies. Freedom versus large government control. Those will never be win-win situations. We cannot create compromise in an attempt to create a win-win situation. It doesn't work. It will not work. It will never work. It has to be a win-lose. We have to accept the fact that in that game of life, in that game of politics, it will be a win-lose unless and until we can either change their ideological thinking or unless we win. It will continue to be conflict. It will continue to be differences of opinion that cannot be rectified, cannot be compromised in a meaningful way. There are, fortunately, a hierarchy of ideological principles. And if you get low enough on that priority, they might say, well, that's not worth fighting for. Okay. That's a win-lose, but it's an accepting win-lose. As long as we have individuals who are fighting for liberty, as long as we as individuals are fighting for our liberty, I'm not willing to take second. I am not willing to take something other than my liberty. And there are people out there that are going to have to lose so that I might win because there is no compromise. I will not compromise my liberty and freedoms. I've done too much already and it's not comfortable. And that's what we have to look for. Bertrand Russell made the observation, war does not determine who is right, only who is left. Not sure we're not headed that direction. Because there's a large group of people who think that we're right. Because it is our freedom and our liberty. Oh, Lord. All right. I kept waiting for the green card to come up. Okay.
Suffice to say, you're way over.
Sure. All right. Anyway, this is something that's become a big passion with me. And as I step back and I try to understand what this is all about and still maintain my principles of creating a win-win environment, I come to the conclusion that there are times you can't do that. There are times that you have to play to win at the expense of their loss. Mr. Toastmaster.